the FWD North Pole Marathon that turned into the FWD 78-degree North Marathon. It's been absolutely incredible. To have been chosen to represent our country, the Philippines, and FWD this year is truly an honor and will be one of my most precious achievements this lifetime. The whole experience was really extraordinary. To start off, the contrast of having to train in the tropics for a race on ice and in sub-zero temperatures. Prior to the trip to Norway, I've not even ran on ice. I had to make do with what we have here. So I mixed it up with running on different terrains, like lots of trails and sand. So this was me in Lawag sand dunes. I spent 10 days in Oslo prior to flying to Svalbard to acclimatize. Late March was the transition from winter to spring. So the temperatures were anywhere from -2 to 8 degrees, which was just perfect. Perfect introduction for me, coming from our plus 30-degree temperatures here, right? So on April 5th, 3 days before our scheduled flight to the North Pole, I flew to Svalbard and met up with the whole FWD Team Asia. So Team Asia we're 9 runners. So I'll give a brief introduction. So that's me in front. So these are the Hong Kong runners in front. So that's professional runner. He does mga 2:28 marathons beside me. And then next to him is Andy Leung. He's a famous singer in Hong Kong. And then followed by Annie Liu in front also. She's a famous actress, Hong Kong actress as well. And then standing here on the left side, that's our group chief, FWD group chief customer and marketing officer, Tim Oliver. And then the next is my teammate from Thailand. So he's a host, sports show host, and also an ultra distance runner. And then next to him is Hideyuki Ono from Japan. He's FWD executive. Next to him is Izum Mizuaki. She's a model, Japanese model. And then next to him is Richard Donovan. He's the race organizer of the North Pole Marathon. And then our COO, FWD group COO also, Rob Shemek. And then that's Vietnamese runner who's also an action star in Vietnam, and he's climbed Everest. So there, and then that was the host of the Hong Kong launch. So yeah, so that's who I met up with. So we flew to Svalbard. That's the jump-off point to the North Pole. Svalbard is actually one of the northernmost inhabitable areas in the world. So it's actually closer to the North Pole than it is to mainland Norway. Flying into Svalbard was an experience, very, very unique experience. The whole runway was covered in ice. So I felt, just landing into Svalbard, I felt like we were landing in the North Pole already. Longyearbyen, the biggest city in Svalbard, used to be a coal mining town, but now mainly thrives on tourism for those out to seek Arctic adventures. It has a population of about 2,500 people, with about 80 Filipinos working in the hospitality industry. It's definitely unlike any place I've been. It's just absolutely beautiful and cold. So what happened during the race? So we were already in Svalbard here. So basically, there's no land in the geographic North Pole. So this is the Arctic Circle. Every year in April, a group of Russian scientists find a piece of ice closest to the North Pole that is of quality that they need, and they set up camp there. So they airdrop a bulldozer and actually parachute people down so they can build a runway and the plane can land and they can set up camp. So together with some explorations, they host skiing expeditions, the North Pole Marathon, etc., etc. So basically, there's only about a 3-week window for all these to happen. Because we're talking about ice, right? It can melt. Basically, these were all on track for the race, so the camp was set up. But a few days before the race, before we were scheduled to fly to the North Pole, there were problems with the Ukrainian Antonov jet that were supposed to take us. This plane was already in Svalbard. So they had, so planes Ukrainian, I said the camp's Russian, so there were geopolitical tensions and they weren't allowed to fly. So the race organizer said, we're going to be delayed for a week, so to fix the tensions, and then meanwhile, he ordered the Canadian plane to take us instead. But the Canadian plane that came was smaller, so it will take double the time to bring everybody to the pole, get everybody to run, and get out of the pole safely. So what happened was basically the geopolitical issue that turned into an environment issue. So it was quickly getting warm, so there could be cracks on the ice. So it became a safety issue. So it just snowballed, literally.
Escalated.
Yes. So there. So we're not just talking about delays for the runners. All expeditions were affected. Total of about 200 people were stranded in Svalbard. During this, so yeah. So in short, yeah, the issues, blah blah blah. So while waiting for the race though, we got to enjoy, because suddenly we had time on our hands, we got to enjoy Arctic adventures. So the highlight for me was dog sledding. I also went on a snowmobile trip with some of the teammates, which is absolutely awesome. So we also enjoyed unique dishes such as reindeer, Mickey whale, crabs, and moose burger. So yeah. So on April 13th, we got news that all North Pole activities will be canceled. And thank God our FWD group officers were there in Norway with us. They did not want all of the training and preparation we each had to go into waste. So they asked the organizer for us to run in Svalbard instead. So technically, it still is the northernmost land-based marathon we can hold, because as I said, the North Pole is on water, running on frozen water, right? So it's still no small feat, right? So honestly, I panicked when I got the news that the North Pole Marathon will be canceled, but I got pacified once I got to talk to our group officers that were there with us, and also the Philippines office, and they said, stay put, don't worry, the race is on. With my very eyes, I saw how truly FWD's got our backs. Can you imagine? Together with the North Pole Marathon organizers, they came up with a 78-degree North Marathon in 3 days. So race day, the weather